that Samuel Vanguard, and I think the last pick potentially could be a Taka here. So let's see what they decide.
Yeah, looking to kind of dive onto that backline. Samuel can be vulnerable in that scenario. And you would expect Rising Lotus to pick something that can help protect the Samuel.
Yeah, either something that can help protect the Samuel or something that can just deal with getting dove on as well. Because while Samuel, yes, you want to try and dive on him, you want to try and get the mortal wounds applied to him so he can't be sustaining up through the fights, because that is his biggest strength. You want to be able to also protect the rest of your team composition as well and still have additional damage. But
Celeste.
Very different direction to what we were expecting there.
And I think Rising Lotus will most likely pick Gwen or Vox here, because Gwen can get out of a core collapse and Vox is good into Black Feather, at least late game for sure. So let's see what Rising Lotus is going to decide on here. But very interesting draft from both teams. They kind of looked at yesterday and then switched up a little bit here on us.
I think Vox would actually be the better selection for them, just because, again, Mortal Wounds is so important, especially against Blackfeather. He's going to be getting a lot of lifesteal, and Celeste is going to have an Eve of Harvest, which will give her extra lifesteal as well. So you want to be able to diminish that healing as much as you possibly can.
Yeah, I mean, there's always the argument for the low elo lane fortress if you really need the mortal rune, but maybe leave that one in solo queue. It is going to be the Vox that is picked up in the end, and that is going to round out our composition. So how are we feeling off the back of this draft? Because I feel like both teams kind of went different directions to what we were initially expecting here.
Yeah, I think both drafts are pretty even. It depends who's going to get ahead in lane and who's going to win jungle. Celeste is going to be a little weaker than Samuel in jungle in the early game, but once she reaches a level 8 power spike, she actually is better than Samuel late game, I feel. So it's going to be determined by really the jungle matchup here. Is Samuel going to be able to snowball Celeste and shut her down, or are they going to let Celeste get to the late game?
Another aspect of it is going to be the Vox. Is he going to focus target one target or spread those attacks around to get the mortal wounds onto both of the opposing carries? I think that's going to be really important to watch and see. I don't know necessarily if either option is better than the other, but it's going to be really cool to see which way to decide to try and go with it.
Yeah, for sure. Well, we want to know who you guys at home are going to be supporting in this game as well. Get involved on Twitter using that hashtag Vainglory8. Join that conversation. But this conversation on the desk is over. It is time to get onto the Halcyon Fold and pass it over to our wonderful casters.
Thank you very much, Munchables. What an exciting first week we have for us today, Shinyi, for this summer season. 4 teams to play today: Fnatic, Rising Lotus, Dynasty, and MOUSESPORTS. Some of those not expected really in the second day of VG8.
Absolutely not. G2 and SK were knocked out yesterday. I think a lot of people were not expecting that, and I think it shows a lot. I think, especially with Rising Lotus in their first game of the day against MOUSESPORTS. I think a lot of people will be looking at Rising Lotus and seeing how to be playing against MOUSESPORTS.
Right, because they beat G2 yesterday in a very solid 2-0. Was broadcasted. Now we've got this matchup, Mouse versus Rising Lotus, and something that, as a caster, you're constantly thinking about storylines and narratives, Shinyi. What kind of things can you talk about for today? Well, there's the possibility that Mouse will play Dynasty in the final if they both win their series, and that would be a Team Secret versus Team Secret matchup.
Yeah, I think it just goes to show a lot by the Team Secret and their roster and their previous coaches, their previous experience as well. But we don't know if MOUSESPORTS will be going through. It's hard to say at this point in time, but I actually think it looks like we're going to be seeing a bit of a 2-for-1 poke there in the jungle at the start.
Yeah, Agony is coming up. One thing that I've always really found impressive about Rising Lotus is the synergy between Agony and Hell's Devil. They really play as a 2 very well. It was kind of the strong point of Rising Lotus, and now with Merciless coming in as the carry, replacing Lorare in that position, then that might be the secret that was necessary to kind of up the ante for Rising Lotus.
Yeah, absolutely. I definitely agree with you. Yeah, it's a very strong roster coming from both of the teams, especially Rising Lotus there with Merciless coming in. And just looking at the composition right now that they're playing, actually, we do see Apple getting rooted up. I don't know if he's going to be able to escape from this one. He is.
Fairly easily, yeah.
Fairly
no,
easily.
You have to remember with Black Feather, not only does he have that shield with the on point, but with the Book of Eulogies, he can heal up using the minions. Here comes I'm the Doom, though, and that's a easy first blood going the way of Mouse. A massive overextension from Hell's Devil there, and Mouse executing on that perfectly.
A really nice stun coming from I'm the Doom, and the thing is with the Celeste in the jungle is that it's not a common position for Celeste to be played in. You have to be careful about the positioning, about those aggressive jungle invades, but right now we're not seeing too much movement from Agony and Lance there to move into their jungle to try and deny some away from Celeste. The thing is with MOUSESPORTS composition right now, it's very much a late game composition with that Black Feather and Celeste. It takes a little bit longer for them to scale up to their full potential, and you kind of want to be seeing Rising Lotus.
Merciless's in trouble, Apfel's going in, on point will slow him down, and that could be, nice Giffian Wall comes out from Hell's Devil, will prevent the death of the Lahari for Rising Lotus there. Is looking for an engage. We see Agony coming up, but I'm not sure Mouse will get baited into this one. It will be damage going down. In fact, Merciless looking to try and get in range as those Malice and Verdicts take Apfel very low. That's going to force the back. I'm the Doom comes up. He's going to hold the lane, but not only that, he's going to get himself some extra gold from all
nice
this
stun.
farm. Nice stun, laying down a Helogenesis minefield, but he's getting poked right down. Lots of poke damage coming out from Agony's Samuel here. And here he comes around the side, just more poke. Apfel coming into the lane. Hell's Devil misses his impale. He's going to get rooted under the turret, and another extension goes wrong for Hell's Devil.
Very nice core collapses there coming out from I'm the Doom there. I think he's catching it. He's just taking advantage of when Rising Lotus are moving a little bit too far forward into the turret range and just trying to land a stun. I'm a bit worried about this situation. He gets the stun.
Ooh, he does get the stun, and now they're looking to see if they can't get Agony. He is going low at full on the front line, but he may have taken off more than he can chew. That's Merciless going to be picking up a kill, and over the wall, Agony trying to find a sneaky snipe to kill someone else. Not going to get it. They're going to find themselves a healing camp each. Agony going to pick that up, which means he can stick around. Won't have to back just yet, but it is nice for Rising Lotus to get something back in return.
And definitely, I think just the Malice and Verdict, the range of it is just gracer than the range coming out from the Celeste Helios and the Apfels. He just doesn't have that damage just yet, so when Agony's poking away, it's doing a lot of damage, and I think they're underestimating that because he's been dealing a lot of damage and they're just trying to get the kill on him.
Man, wow. Just overzealous there, and you can't really afford to find yourself going 1v2 against a Samuel and a Lance. Hell's Devil, yes, he has been the person dying for the side of Rising Lotus so far, but when an Impale lands, when that Giffian War is in a position in the jungle like it was, where it's guaranteed pretty much a stun, then that just makes Agony's job of hitting those Malice and Verdicts so easy.
They're really relying a lot on him in the later game. Once we see Apfel just getting a little bit more aggressive, like once we see that Black Feather picking up his tier 3 damage items there and trying to go in aggressively on Agony and Merciless, there's gonna be a lot. They're gonna be relying a lot on the Lance just to use a Giffian Wall and just keep them away, especially from the Samuel. And if you give Samuel the opportunity to back away from the fight, that's not a position that you want to be in as MOUSESPORTS. Right now he's a little bit too far forward, getting some damage there onto MOUSESPORTS. But I feel like Rising Lotus are in a very comfortable position in terms of jungle control. We're seeing a lot of movements going into their side, and Apfel, he's being pushed back very far back under his turrets.
He is, and this is kind of the downside of a melee laner, that you do get poked under. You unless you've got kind of a healer to keep you nice and healthy in the lane, then you kind of have to play slightly more passive. But when I'm the Doom comes up, it does provide a lot of support. Agony, level 6, there's a good root. That's going to be I'm the Doom in a lot of trouble, and he goes down. Justman diving forward. It looks like Merciless is going to get away there. But Mouse do lose one more, and now the siege potential for Rising Lotus is great.
Yeah, this is exactly how they should be playing. They have the early game advantage in terms of the power spikes. Actually, Apfel, he gets rooted
Wow.
up.
That is incredible damage. Justman, he's going to go down here as well. No way he escapes. Oh, Solar Storm from downtown. We'll find a cheeky kill. Agony's actually in trouble here. He has to take the turret consistently. A double for I'm the Doom, making a hero play, stopping this turret from going down. But it does feel like it is mistakes all around from both these teams.
Yeah, definitely there. I think Hell's Devil did a really good job of just trying to manage to get the stun, you get the wall to stunning both Apfel and Justman, so they were able to pick up the kill there. I think they stayed a little bit too long, not really keeping an eye on the timers, especially coming out from Celeste. So I think they're focusing a little bit too much on trying to get the kill, both kills. Oh, Apfel gets rooted.
Apfel does get rooted and he's going to have to try and escape. Oh, never mind. Won't happen. Pops the boots, but until he hits level 6, gets that ultimate unlocked for the Rose offensive, then escaping is definitely a difficult task.
Definitely, and I think Rising Lotus are keeping the ante up, applying the pressure, but this is the problem. We're seeing Celeste, she's almost level 8 now, but she's over halfway there in terms of the experience bar, and where's Justman as well. Once he reaches that level 6 and has that gauntlet available, that is a great power spike there for Rising Lotus. They missed the stun, actually.
They missed the stun, but they'll get the turret. Hell's Devil in a bit of trouble. Justman taking this all up. Now Apfel will be getting it. Solar Storm rips for Hell's Devil, but does not find a kill. Rising Lotus not interested in pursuing too far, and Mao's not interested in the re-engage. Gold finally swinging in the favor of Rising Lotus. 1,000 for them as some key items purchased. That Poison Shiv second damage item for Merciless, as well as a Crucible coming through for Hell's Devil.
Definitely, that Crucible's gonna be so important there. Just giving that reflex block. Actually, looking at them, just looking at the teams right now, the way they're positioning, I feel that Rising Lotus is going to be grouping up in the jungle soon. Actually, never mind, Merciless is going to be going home. I thought they were going to be contending that gold mine. We're not going to be seeing that.
So the Crucible, key purchase. It can help the side of Rising Lotus escape the gauntlet walls, or even perhaps block a well-placed core collapse as well. So it does provide Rising Lotus a couple of tools to survive in the jungle. It's quite interesting. Apfel went Poison Shiv first item, very standard really for Black Feathers, whereas Merciless went Sorrow Blade, and now they've kind of reversed their item builds and built into the vice versa options there. So very similar damage spikes for both these carries, but currently it feels like Rising Lotus are making the more proactive plays, and that's kind of what's got them to this stage right now, Shinyi, where they're leading.
Yeah, I feel like I agree with you. They are definitely making the more proactive plays in this game so far, but I think they're just taking advantage of their composition and the power specs that they have right now. And I feel that as MOUSESPORTS get a little bit more into the late game, once we reach that 15-minute mark, we'll be seeing them being the ones that make the more strategic choices there and just being a little bit more aggressive. I'm the Doom, he has now reached level 9. He has overdriven the heliogenesis, so that range is increased. He is in a more comfortable position to poke as well. I think my main worry right now is Agony. He's just doing so much damage to MOUSESPORTS right now. There's not much shield on the side of either I'm the Doom or Apfel, and every single Malice and Verdict that is hitting the members of MOUSESPORTS is just forcing them back. I think they need to prioritize that shielding a little bit earlier. Just so they're in a more comfortable position to be fighting those team fights.
Well, we are going to have a team fight breaking out. That's going to be an Impale missing. Apfel put to sleep, and he's in trouble, trying to survive, and he will find Merciless for his effort. Now it's the battle of the junglers. Hell's Devil in the midst of it all, as that core collapse does not come through. Hits onto Agony, blocked, and Doom, he is trying to escape, and wow, okay, they managed to pick up Hell's Devil. Agony now actually in trouble. This is turned on its heels, considering that I'm the Doom is out of energy. Agony's going to try and chase it. Oh, Justman! He could not get the kill. Very messy fights happening all over the place here, Shinyi. In the end, a 2-for-2. But we are going to see if I'm the Doom can deny some of the CS here.
I think they can, and I'm the Doom having to go home, not able to get any damage there on the turret. But yeah, very sloppy fight just coming from both of the teams there. I definitely agree with you there. Hell's Devil, I think the whole time doing a really great job using those Githian walls to land those like single double stuns there onto the members of MOUSESPORTS. And I think going back to my previous point about the lack of shielding on MOUSESPORTS, I think we all saw how much damage Apfel just took in the face when Agony threw out a Drifting Dark and a Malice and Verdict that hit him. He was able to pick up the kill there onto Merciless, but he's got that sustain. We're seeing him building that shield. He's got the reflex block. This will help him a lot in the future team fights. But right now, I feel like MOUSESPORTS are not in a exactly quite comfortable position to be really engaging in those all-out brawls.
Right. You mentioned at the beginning of the game that MOUSESPORTS have a very nice late game composition. Once that Black Feather and that Celeste are online, they're going to have a lot of damage, and of course the Arden scales very nicely into the late game as well. But they are still looking for fights here. Apfel in fact called out. That's a huge Githian's War, and Apfel's trying to get onto Merciless, doing a lot of damage. Merciless is going to get bursted down, and Apfel's still alive. Agony on the back line looking to try and escape, but I don't think he can. He's trying. He's got some distance, and all this time it's Hell's Devil running from I'm the Doom. We'll have to see which one goes down first. It will be Hell's Devil falling, and Agony, he is cornered, but look at Apfel's health bar. They're going to rely on I'm the Doom to really pick up this kill. Apfel looking for the on point, doesn't hit it over the wall. Justman is in a 1v1, but here's Doom coming in. Oh, the snipe from Agony! Not what you want! And Agony's going to escape on this Samuel 7-1-1. The raid boss lives on.
So impressed with Agony just staying alive the whole time. And in that fight, we just saw them completely split because that was a terrible engagement coming out from them at the start. Hell's Devil landed the triple stun using that Githian wall onto all 3 members, and that was a precarious position for them to be in because the Drifting Dark managed to hit all 3 of them as well, leaving Merciless in perfect opportunity to land that silence. And as a Celeste, being hit by that wait for is absolutely detrimental, but look, fortunately, thanks to Justman, she was able to disengage from the fight long enough and just be ignored just long enough there for her to be able to do a little bit more damage in the backline. But I think the fights are still quite sloppy in the way they're being executed, and it's just being incredibly back and forth with who's picking up the kills in the fights. Oh.
A lot of damage going down onto Agony, but another engage from Hell's Devil. I'm the Doom. Huge storm. That will rip through. Gauntlet trapping everyone down, but I'm the Doom's in trouble. Trying to escape, and he will be able to. Apfel going to re-engage, but Justman is low. Apfel doing work. Merciless sustaining. Merciless will find the kill. Doom falls as well, and Justman going to go down. A double, an ace for Rising Lotus. Once you think that Mouse are coming back into the game, Rising Lotus flip it.
Great weekend for them. Yeah, absolutely. They flipped it on its head completely. The footwork coming out from Merciless, Vox there just staying alive, kiting away, dealing the damage and avoiding Apfel the whole time. Picking up the 2 kills there on I'm the Doom and Apfel was incredibly impressive. And his Vox, it was just the way they recognized the opportunity. They were caught in the gauntlet, and most of the times people were thinking, yes, I need to get out of this gauntlet. It's a terrible place to be in. But he just managed to turn it around, and thanks to the sustain coming out from the Poison Shiv, and as well as the Aegis giving him that extra protection from the Helios, was enough to keep him alive. And even though Agony went down incredibly quickly at the start of that fight, thanks to that Solar Storm, they were able to turn that fight around.
Wow, incredible game we've got on our hands here. Mouse, they are in a position now where they're starting to scale up, but Rising Lotus have this 3,000 gold lead. Hell's Devil going to get caught in the core collapse, goes down to half HP. Apfel trying to find Merciless, but Agony's onto I'm the Doom. It's the 1v1. Solar Storm connecting, wait for it though, going to silence. Merciless does fall. Agony losing this. Oh, huge burst! And this should be an ace for Mouse. Back and forth on the seesaw. Let's get Mouse back on track.
This game is ridiculous. MOUSESPORTS taking the ace after Rising Lotus just get the ace about a minute earlier. They're going to get an incredible gold bounty off this with an immense gold payout as well as the turret. And if you're looking at the gold between both of the teams, I think it's practically even now with just 500 between the 2 teams. And they're actually going to get a second turret off the back of this. I think in that last fight though, Apfel is just diving straight onto Merciless. He's got that coat of place. He's got a little bit more armor than Merciless does. And I think one thing that we're going to be looking for as we progress into the late game is that getting that Atlas Pauldrons as well, just to negate some of the attack speed coming out from Blackfeather. We did have the Frostburn and the Drifting Dart coming out from the Samuel to try and prevent Apfel from just diving straight on. But this is the thing about the Blackfeather. We saw this in yesterday's games, where the Blackfeather, once you get into the late game, was just one picking. I think it was Techno JJ's Blackfeather actually, where he was picking up all the kills at the end. He was able to stay alive long enough. He gets so much defense, just needs 2 tier 3 damage items, and he can do an incredible amount of damage.
Wow. Gold even. 15 minutes. Kraken to be fought over. Hell's Devil landing Impales, and this time dodging that core collapse. But you cannot walk over these Helogenesis, because once the Supernova comes out, it's so much damage. Hell's Devil with the engage, but he gets caught up. Solar Storm not going to catch anyone. Merciless caught in a gauntlet. That's going to be huge. Agony, though, going to get turned upon, and Agony's trying to take down I'm the Doom, whilst Agony is going in. He is all by himself. Merciless takes down Apfel. This has gone terrible for Mouse. Once more, the split not working out for them, and it looks like I'm the Doom may just be able to escape, but can Justmen have the same fate? That will be them escaping. Rising Lotus not quite able to catch on to them. The slows from the Frostburn of this Celeste keeping them back. And we are just going to see Mouse return their tails between their legs.
Yeah, neither team is really going to get too much off the back of that. Justman and I'm the Doom able to stay alive long enough to prevent Rising Lotus picking up the Kraken there. I don't think we're going to see any movements from them either. And actually, if you looked at the start of the team fight there, Hell's Devil positioning, he managed to land the impale on Giant the Doom, which is great, but unfortunately the rest of the team were just a little bit too far forward, sorry, not a little bit too far forward, a little bit too far back, so there wasn't really much follow-up, so he did take a lot of damage. But what was really great coming out from Rising Lotus was that they were able to split the teams up, so it was Agony onto I'm the Doom and Justman, and Merciless was able to kite away because with that pulse, he was able to slow Apfel down. Oh no, Agony.
Agony is half HP, 2 supernovas, and he's been slowed down. Mouse want to execute on this, but can they find the kill? Agony gonna come through. He dodges away from the Solar Storm. Hell's Devil through the re-engage. That's a big Oblivion. Will get blocked with the Crucible, but Merciless is just doing the damage. Look at him go. Apfel trying to shut him down. Justman's Gauntlet doesn't do enough. Can Apfel get the execute? No, he cannot. It will be an ace for Rising Lotus, and they will secure the Kraken.
A great combination of ultimates coming out there from Rising Lotus at the end, and I really like the way that although I'm the Doom managed to throw out the Solar Storm, which hit a lot of damage onto the members of Rising Lotus. If we saw the combination of the Oblivion, the Wait For It as well as the Impale landing onto multiple members of MOUSESPORTS, they were not prepared for that. I think the Crucible only really blocked the Oblivion, and it completely forced them back, allowing Merciless just to re-engage into the fight there.
This is an incredible first game of this second day of European Summer Season, Jinyi. Two teams that have struggled to make it to day 2. One has struggled to win games in the entirety of the spring season, but Rising Lotus, we did see some success from them at the beginning of the season. They kind of fell off towards the end, but they're back in full force and currently Kraken pushing the lane.
They're going to have to be very careful about this with that Celeste there on the side of MOUSESPORTS. She's really great at pushing down that Kraken as well, but you have to be careful about the positions of the Helios. And I think a lot of teams is a really easy opportunity for her to build up those broken myth stacks, and they're going to land the Impale, but they miss it.
No, they do miss it, but this Kraken is going straight for the Vein Crystal turrets. Apfel onto Merciless, trying to slow him down. Solar Storm does rip through, does a lot of damage. Here's the minefield being set up. I'm the Doom trying to aggress. Apfel trying to find the kill, gets stunned. Merciless is kiting. Merciless still alive, and a huge Impale will catch Apfel, but Rising Lotus cannot execute. All they need to do, though, is buy time. The Kraken has taken the first Vein Crystal turret, and Mals are forced to heal up. They're going for the win here. A Gauntlet catches Agony, but Merciless is running right around the back. Vein Crystal exposed. Merciless doing the work. This is looking like it will be game. Rising Lotus, can they take it? Yes, they can. The first of this semi-final goes to Rising Lotus.
And a really impressive first game that was between the two teams. Rising Lotus, they looked really strong from the start, and I think there was definitely moments in the middle where it looked like MOUSESPORTS were coming back from that. And with the composition they had, I think they definitely had the chance, but every time we saw Apfel trying to dive on to either Agony or Merciless, they were just able to kite back from that, and I think we just really needed that stronger, a slow, either a Shiver Steel coming out from the Arden, or just an extra. I think the Frostburn was working well, but I just don't think it was synergizing as well as we would have hoped. But either way, they were not able to get onto the members of Rising Lotus there in that first game.
Incredible game coming out of Rising Lotus, and we can see why they beat G2, but let's throw it back to our desk to break down the first game.
Well, certainly a chaotic game, I think is the best way to talk about this one. Very back and forth, definitely could have gone either way across the course of that one. But I think if we start the conversation at the draft, because both sides had one very, very impactful character. We had a Samuel on the side of Rising Lotus, and we had a Celeste on the side of MOUSESPORTS. I mean, do we feel like either of them was really a major impact in this victory?
I mean, they clearly were. They had massive score lines at the end. I think the interesting thing about it is they were the two most impactful heroes, but also the two least expected heroes for us from these drafts. And both I'm the Doom on the Celeste and Agony on the Samuel really made it work and were kind of the linchpin for their teams in these fights.
All right, so we're going to go into some replays now, and we've got a couple of replays from each team, as this game very much was a story of going back and forth.
Yeah, for sure, and you need to watch Hell's Devil and how he lands his roots and uses Scythian walls there. He CC'd a lot, and the one thing about MOUSESPORTS is they continue to fight in jungle a lot of times against a Lance. And they also didn't do a good job of protecting Celeste and letting Celeste poke, because once Celeste is level 8, she actually has a better poke control of the game in terms of the team fighting, and they needed to force a lot of those fights in lane versus jungle into a Lance there. So, and another thing is Hellsdale did a really good job. He canceled a lot of abilities actually. Like Black Feather, Afro almost got a kill on Vox, and he actually canceled the A. It's just the timing of his Githian walls have been on point. Justman also played really well as Arden, landing a few gauntlets and etc. But here, this is where they needed to protect the Celeste here. So the Vox does a really good job of like, see Celeste gets rooted and Vox just jumps on her. She has no armor and he deletes her so quick since she only has their tier 1 armor. And one thing Apple does as Blackfeather is he doesn't ult into the team. He needs to do that. Every ult does a basic attack hit, so he'll do some damage. He's like ulting adjacent away from the team when he should be ulting onto the targets that he wants to damage.
Sorry, go on.
The other aspect of it was the fact that when it was MOUSESPORTS winning fights, it was because of Apfel getting onto the Vox and splitting Vox away from the rest of the team, allowing Celeste to sort of have that 1v1 against Samuel where, like CJ was saying, towards the late game, Celeste is winning that trade and winning that duel, whereas then Blackfeather is just keeping the Vox busy. Even if he doesn't win out that trade, as long as they take out the Samuel, they can then finish off the fight. So that last team fight that we just saw was one where they weren't able to make that split happen.
Yeah.
They fought them all in one area, and that's not what you want to be doing against a Vox Samuel.
Yeah, definitely. In the early game, it was all about the Samuel in terms of the damage in the team fights. Once it got to the late game, Vox was tearing up, as we saw in those replays.
Yeah, and one last thing is Celeste needed to land those ultimates. When they did, they won the fights. When she did not, it really didn't help them. So they need to make sure when the gauntlet stunned Vox, if Celeste ulted then, they would have won that fight easy. So they need to really make sure that they're using their ultimates really wisely.
So around the game, like generally speaking across the game, a lot of these fights were very messy. And a lot of the situations in which the teams were fighting weren't necessarily correct. Am I stepping too far by saying that statement, or would you say that's accurate?
Throughout the early to mid game, it was definitely accurate. I think once we got later on, the teams were choosing much better times to fight. It was just the actual execution. Like MOUSESPORTS was more often than not the team that was trying to be the aggressor and trying to dive on, which they had to be because otherwise you've got Samuel and Vox just kind of poking you all day. But when they went for those all-in engagements, like I said, sometimes they went for it and it worked out perfectly. They got that split they were looking for. But down the stretch, unfortunately, all it takes is one bad fight, and all of a sudden the game is completely flipped right back the other way.
And, I mean, as you mentioned, like the Celeste Ultimates, for example, a lot of these fights were actually just down to pure mechanics rather than like one composition being better than the other.
Yeah, and it also gave Lance an easier time. Honestly, fighting in jungle narrow corridors like that is a big no-no. You just don't push the lane. Like Celeste is extremely strong in lane, and it's much harder for Lance to CC anybody in an open field like the lane. So I felt like they really made bad decisions. They only fought in jungle, but they fought on the side of Rising Lotus into the Sentry, and that's just really bad decision making and shot call from MOUSESPORTS there.
Yeah, so now, like, looking at the rest of the series, how does this kind of build the storylines for these teams? Because, you know, MOUSESPORTS kind of want to expect to do really, really well across the course of the bracket. Rising Lotus really doing an amazing job in this game.
I think a lot of it's just the stories, the decision-making versus the capitalizing on opportunities. Rising Lotus is a team that, just from what I saw in that game, when they are offered an opportunity, they jump on it immediately and take advantage of the positioning. Whereas MOUSESPORTS, they're the ones, when they make a proper decision, then they look so clean in their fights. It's just sometimes they make a decision that they feel is the right call, but ends up just not necessarily being as right as they thought.
Doesn't quite work out, yeah. So it's time to start to talk about the next draft coming into this series. Celeste and Samuel, are we going to see that kind of thing again, Sweet?
Yeah, Samuel Agony is very good on Samuel. It's like basically I'm the Doom's Kestro. It's like the same comparison you can make there. He played it so well, especially in the early game, getting so many kills, like 7-1, I believe. So they need to really watch that Samuel and take it away or just ban it, I feel. And I don't like Afro and Blackfeather. I felt like he missed a lot of engages. There was one point where Samuel was so low health, he just needed to boot in and A him, but he didn't. So I don't like seeing Afro and Blackfeather, so hopefully he plays another hero that he's more proficient on. I think Baron and Grumpjaw will be probably the priority bans here coming out of both teams based on history, so let's see what happens.
Yeah, we'll see who they're going to ban to kick off. Obviously, Grumpjaw will be taken away there. Not really too surprising. And Baron, going to be the answer as well from MOUSESPORTS. So totally expected so far. And now we head into these first picks. Are things like the Celeste and the Samuel too aggressive to go on a very first pick?
I think it's definitely, you can't really go for a first pick because there are clear counters to both of them. So first pick likely to end up seeing captains come out.
Yeah, so Lance will probably be picked here potentially. They've done that yesterday. They've done that on B side today. Lyra or Lance, depending on what composition they feel like running. So, it's going to be Arden. They're going to take Arden away from MOUSESPORTS.
I mean, that's a smart decision. MOUSESPORTS has been really playing a lot of this Arden. Justman is a very strong Arden player. He had some phenomenal gauntlets. So now they're going to force him onto a secondary hero. And we'll see where they decide to go. They could obviously, again, go for the Lance. They can do the Lyra. Catherine, plenty of options available.
I think Lyra is the best option here because Lyra is good into Arden as long as you engage properly with her. So hopefully MOUSESPORTS is going to go for that, but they may opt for the Lance. So they're going to go ahead and pick up that Vox, which makes a lot of sense. I like AFO on Vox a lot more than like a melee character like Blackfeather. And I think with picking Vox, they may potentially ban, let's see, normally they ban Idris on that B side, and they may want to maybe deny Samuel here or pick it. So I think Samuel or Idris might be potential bans that come out here from MOUSESPORTS.
Could you even... Okay, they are going to ban away this Samuel. I was going to say, could you consider banning a Gwen here? Because you've got the Vox, you've banned the Baron already. Those are kind of the three major ranged weapon power carries for the lane.
Yeah, I would argue Vox is good into Gwen because Gwen with Tension Bow is stronger, but once Vox gets to the 2 or 3 items, he's actually better than Gwen. So Kesha's going to come out as a ban from Rising Lotus because they're basically doing a jungle, denying their best heroes on jungle here. And I think for MOUSESPORTS, Lyra with Poison Shift Vox is really strong, so hopefully they go with Lyra here, but they're going to go with Finn instead. Okay, this is a very interesting draft. Finn has not come out at all.
First Finn.
Actually. First Finn of the entire season here, so this is going to be an interesting one. It's not even Mowgli playing it. So we'll have to see how this one pans out.
I just can't predict the weather in EU, man, you know?
It's definitely a stormy season right now in terms of the picks and the bans, but how do we feel about Justman on this Finn? Is this something that he's played a lot in the past?
Finn is good because it counters melee, so I don't think Rising Lotus will pick a melee. If they maybe want to pick Idris here, because Idris is actually decent into Vox, so they're instead going to go with the Gwen, which makes a lot of sense, which you were talking about earlier. And then they're probably going to round it up with a potential assassin with Arden here, like Taka that can dodge the Finn or something, or maybe even Koshka. We'll see if they're going to go with that.
Yeah, Koshka would definitely be something that, I mean, could work, but up into a Finn, I'm never crazy about Koshka into Finn because that just takes away a target for Yummy Catnip Frenzy. Like, you just can't target him whatsoever with it. I mean, you can, but you're not going to be terribly successful. Does have the ability to at least dodge around a Quibble, but I'm not crazy about a Koshka pick. Glaive, however, is one that I do like because you can use the Glaive to, even though you're not going to be hitting the Afterburn on Finn, you can still slow him down with it. You can go for the dives onto the backline, which they're going to need against Apfel on this box.
All right, well, now down to MOUSESPORTS on their final pick of the game, looking for a jungler. What are we expected to come out here going into a Glaive?
Yeah, I mean, they can do potentially CP Blackfeather if they want, or Taka even, to really jump onto that Gwen. But Finn isn't a good follow-up with that Taka, so most likely they may not pick that Taka. They can also try Petal, because Petal will be good into that Glaive, along with Finn is going to protect that box really well against a Glaive diving in. But yeah, they're going to go with the CP Blackfeather here, which is actually, I like this draft a lot for MOUSESPORTS.
All right, so Blackfeather once again coming into the game. We'll see how that one is going to play out here. But those are our compositions locked in now. I'm going to ask you guys once again, how do we feel the draft has gone? Do we feel like either side has won the draft?
I don't think either side has necessarily won just off the draft. It's actually going to be really execution focused. It's just very similar to game number 1, where if you make a decision to go in, you have to make sure that's going to end up being in an advantageous position and not in a spot where your opponents can easily turn the fight right back around.
Your thoughts, Sui?
I think MOUSESPORTS won the draft because mid to late game they have better power spikes. CP Blackfeather outscales a CP Glaive, and once Vox builds defense against a Tension Bow Gwen and a CP Glaive, he won't be deleted off the instant, and Finn gives fortified health. So I think MOUSESPORTS is going to take this game away.
All right, we'll have to see whether they are going to be able to do that as well. Don't forget, we want to know who you guys are wanting to see take this game as well. Get involved on social media using that hashtag Vainglory8. And obviously, we're going to be featuring some of those tweets on stream as well. Next week when we get into kind of the waiting time, we'll be featuring those, but it's time to get onto the Halcyon Fold and pass it over to our casters.
Yesterday, we saw Apfel play this Vox Shinyi, and he was excellent on it. Really, really strong on the Vox and the Gwen as well. The Black Feather, we saw some glimmers of hope, but perhaps it's not as strong of a pick for Apfel. We'll have to see. Mouse cannot afford to lose this game.
They definitely can't, and I feel like this is a very strong composition coming out from MOUSESPORTS. I feel like they're playing heroes that they're comfortable on. I've seen Justman's Finn a number of times in the past, and I think it's a very solid pickup. They have a lot of crowd control, and it's definitely the Force Accord, once you get to the later parts of the game, is definitely something that Merciless is going to be very concerned about, having to time that skedaddle perfectly to avoid that. I think it's kind of like the same thing. It's like once you get some cooldown items on that Finn in the late game, that Force Accord, that is up very regularly. It cannot always be blocked by Hell's Devil there. So in the late game, something that they're going to have to worry about for now. Rising Lotus, just I think playing it safe right now.
I actually don't think you can block the Forced Accord with Skedaddle. It blocks stuns, it blocks slows, but it doesn't block displacements. Like with the Glaive Afterburn, you don't get stunned at the end of it, but you still get displaced. Either way, a fight is breaking out in the jungle. Justman and I in the Doom contesting this Elder Treant against Rising Lotus, Agony, and Hell's Devil. That's going to be Afterburn into Justman, but I'm the Doom is in lots of trouble. First blood goes to Rising Lotus. Justman trying to secure a return kill. Agony just dancing back and forth. And Justman looks like he's going to give up the chase. That's an Afterburn ready soon enough. 6 seconds. And Justman's actually looking like he's going to go down. Yeah, Merciless with that buckshot able to take the kill. A fantastic start for Rising Lotus.
Really strong start. They're using the Afterburn to get a stun there on I'm the Doom. And the thing was with the Crystal Blackfeather is he doesn't do very well fighting a melee range, like as compared to the Glaive. Especially in the starts of the game, you're kind of relying a lot on your poke. They're coming out from your on point.
Apfel's going to go down.
Oh no!
Wow, a 3-0 beginning for Rising Lotus. Every member from Mouse has lost their lives. I'm the Doom trying his best with Justman to find a return kill onto Merciless, and he will be able to find it. Justman gets the credit. Something going back into the pockets of Mouse, but Rising Lotus winning game 1. They've come into the second very strong.
Very bloodthirsty game in the start. Yes, they have come back into this strong.
Doom steals away the Elder Treant there. Agony by himself can't really contest for it. So yeah, no, very strong start, but it doesn't seem like Mouse are disheartened just yet.
Definitely not. I don't think they should be. I think it takes, again, like similar to the last time, it takes a little bit of time for them to scale up into the later game. Rising Lows, especially with that Glaive there, have their own Agony taking so much damage.
Yeah, he goes down. This is very intriguing. Oh, Apfel forced to pop his boots. Merciless chasing him straight into the jungle. Very peculiar series, really. It's every time you think one team is starting to build up that advantage, the other one starts bringing back their gameplay, starting to catch back up, and the goal is practically even.
But that's the thing about the last game, was that it was every single team fight was going one where it wasn't predictable, wasn't always going towards MOUSESPORTS, it wasn't always going towards Rising Lotus. It was very back and forth, and yes, the goal remained consistently equal in the last game. And I think we're going to be seeing a similar story for this one. For this one,
it looks like we've lost you again, Shinyi. The robots attack once more, Shinyi. Very unfortunate. So whilst you look to resolve your Scottish internet once more, we'll have to continue, unfortunately, with just my Australian accent. Some power spike items here coming from Rising Lotus, and I'm the Doom's in a lot of trouble. Polite Company goes down. Apfel first to roam down. They could actually turn this around, Mouse, despite the item deficit. Fountain available for Hell's Devil, but Agony has been split, and Mouse are going to try and focus on in and chase down. The Afterburn knocks I'm the Doom away, but there's no way Agony escapes this. Surely there's no way. He is being chased down, and yep, he will fall. Merciless coming around the back will not be able to help out with that.
Yeah, Rising Lotus, am I back, Daisy?
You are.
I'm not a robot, so that is good to hear. Sorry for my internet. Yeah, Scottish internet. As we were saying, I think Rising Lotus and MOUSESPORTS have equalized their score. I think it's a little bit interesting. So Merciless has now finished his Tensionable, Hell's Devil has now his Fountain, and Agony has now finished his Stormcrown. Looking at the itemization there, they have a massive power spike. They have an amazing power spike right now, and I feel like that Mouse Sports need to be wary about this because they haven't finished their fountain yet. Just Man needs to go down to the shop to pick it up. Atful doesn't. I think also has enough gold. Actually, all three members of Mouse Sports are sitting on a lot of gold, so they do all need to go to the shop there. But right now, I think Rising Lotus is in a very comfortable position to push that lane up.
Yeah, they've got themselves that 700 gold lead. The item's starting to build up. Tension Bow for Merciless is a huge power spike over Atful, something that if Rising Lotus can really execute upon, they're going to be in for a good time, especially considering that Atful has not completed the Poison Shiv. He does have 2,000 gold, could go back and complete it, go down to the shop, but is currently forced to lane and make sure this lane is not being pushed into the turret. Here comes Rising Lotus though, they're coming around the back looking for a gank, the flare goes out, he knows he's in trouble, but he gets afterburn nonetheless, and kaboom! Atful's still alive, but can he escape for now? Fountain, well timed from Just Man just to keep him from the edge of death. He went down to 0 and back up again.
The fountain has been forced. Hell's Devil still holding on to his fountain right now. But until Atful gets here.
This is aggressive. No. Merciless will be able to escape, but a 2 versus 3 advantageous, if not anything, from Mouse.
Yeah, they're preventing the pushback. I think if you look at the turret, they've not managed to do any damage there. Gwen's had to go back to the shop as well. And this is where we see, okay, I think this is where we start seeing that Crystal Black Feather coming online. He's got that Shasser Glass. It's going to be doing a lot of damage with the on point there. And the Execute as well is going to be doing a lot of damage if he is able to land those. It's a lot of poke there potentially that's going to be hitting the Gwen or the Glaive. And something that they're going to have to be really careful of now that we are beginning to see Mouse Sports, their compositions coming in.
No luck today, Shinyi. I think you accidentally muted yourself there.
I think I did.
But yeah, this is very funny. Yeah, no, this is a really interesting matchup, Rising Lotus versus Mouse, because it does feel like Rising Lotus are consistently playing a proactive game. They have some sort of game plan in mind. Mouse almost reacting to everything that's going on. We are seeing a bit of a build up in the lane as I'm the Doom, trying to find some poke, but a good shield coming out of Hell's Devil will avoid any damage onto Merciless. Yeah, and this is kind of the criticism I would have of Mouse right now, is it doesn't actually feel like they're making many proactive plays. They're almost kind of reacting to what Rising Lotus are throwing at them.
Yeah, that's interesting to say because I feel like yesterday in their games, they were looking very, very proactive in how they were playing. And it's interesting that they've taken this back foot in this series particularly, and I think this answers a lot of questions that people may have had after yesterday's series when the Rising Lotus G2 game was played off stream and it was announced that Rising Lotus were the winners 2-0. And I think this shows they're in they've got a new roster, they're looking extremely strong, I've got to say, and they're making these movements in the map, in the macro play, in the micro play. I think that's surprising a lot of people here.
Yeah, no, certainly is. Rising Lotus look reinvented, and it's not like it's a massive roster swap that's caused it. Is literally Merciless coming in this carry position and perhaps just providing some more stability to the team.
I have to agree with you there, and we also have to look at Rising Lotus. I feel like that we've not really, in the first game in particular, I think Atful on that Black Feather, this is something that Suijay said on the Suijay said on the analyst desk, is that he didn't seem as comfortable on the Vox, on the Black Feather as he does in the Vox. So this time we are seeing him a little bit more of a comfort pick for him. So hopefully we're going to be seeing a little bit more kind of comfortable play in those team fights, because I feel like so far in the last game we weren't really seeing them looking that great when they're trying to be aggressive, when they're trying to engage on those team fights. I think once we get to Just Man reaching that level 8 and getting that is able to overdrive his Quibble, he's going to be looking a lot more comfortable, because if you look at the members of Rising Lotus, all three of them relatively melee range, even as Gwen, I think as a ranged hero, she's got a very short range, so it should be easier for him to be landing those Quibbles on him.
Well, it is going to be everyone in the lane once more. Let's see if anything breaks out. That Forced Accord not finding any success from Just Man just now. Good usage of the Crucible to make sure that Rising Lotus weren't caught amiss. An Aftershock now completed though for Agony. A pretty big power spike for this CP Glaive. This is the peak of his damage, and Rising Lotus will certainly be looking to make those afterburns count, though Agony is caught out. Well, I say caught out, he's caught aware in the jungle, but with a afterburn and with a short cooldown that is now that ability, it's not really a catch. The Merciless may be in trouble. He gets pulled back in. He's trying to dodge away, but the Polite Company slows him down. A kill for Mouse, and now they're going for Agony. A gauntlet used to escape, and it will be successful, but Mouse catching Rising Lotus out.
Absolutely, we saw the infusions coming out from the Mezzo into the shop. They're all sitting on a lot of gold, and not only that, I think it was a wait for it coming out from Apple that really caught them unawares because the Crucible, it was still on a cooldown there from Hell's Devil. So Gwen stuck in the middle, wasn't really able to do too much, and because if you look at her items, just at Aegis there, all three of the members were able to focus on picking her up, and it just forced that really defensive gauntlet coming out from Hell's Devil, forcing them to back away. And I think that there's a lot of crowd. If you're looking at Rising Lotus, there's a lot of crowd control there in their hands with a wave for it, the Quibble, and with the Forced Accord as well. And that's something that Rising Lotus is really going to have to be aware of. I think also going back to what you were saying about proactive decisions coming up from from Rising Lotus, it's something that I want to be seeing a little bit more of from MOUSESPORTS.
Oh, that's going to be a force cord blocked up. Agony, though, is in a bit of trouble. The afterburn used. Oh, that is not where you want your Aces High to go. Straight into the fin, but he's unstoppable. Mal's very low. Wait for it. Does fly out. Merciless being aggressed upon by Apple, but there's the after. Oh, nice block. Agony now in trouble. The afterburn blocked up, and that will be him going down. Nice reactions from Apple. Pop that instantly meant there was no damage to be had. And now Mal's looking to take this turret. I may have criticized Mal's about lack of proactivity, but right now it's what's getting them these kills.
Absolutely, it's their reactions that they're recognizing when Rising Lotus are not doing so, because they know that they have the double infusions. They know they have the advantage in terms of power specs. If you're looking at CS, it's relatively close. Looking at the gold before, it's also relatively close. So those power specs, those infusions are giving them this great power advantage that's working out really well for them in their team fights. And I think right now we are just seeing Merciless just being a little bit far forward. They're really placing a lot of emphasis on trying to catch that Gwen out.
And this is something that we see so often in North America, Shinyi. The early infusions used as power spikes to gain an advantage over your opponent. It is huge as far as damage is concerned. Rising Lotus have only just now realized that they need to be infusing. Level 9 infused for Merciless. It's very well timed. That's going to be another Force to Cord blocked perfectly by Hell's Devil. The infusions are just about to run out for Mouse, so I expect them to fall back, shop, perhaps even refresh them if they want to go for an engage.
Yeah, definitely. I think that's exactly what they are doing. It's like they've heard you and they're going down to the shop. Double infusions coming out, but right now if you're looking at Rising Lotus, there's only one infusion and it's on that Gwen. I think they're going to be trying to focus on the turret, which is not the best idea.
Yeah, they're going to go in, wait for it flies out. That's going to be Agony locked up. A gauntlet does catch Apple, and look at the damage onto I'm the Doom. He escapes, but Merciless in trouble. He will fall down on point, lands, and Agony now trying to escape, but another in point, ooh, does not connect. Merciless will, Apple in fact will be able to chase nonetheless. 2 kills go over to Mouse, and like clockwork, it's beautiful when you say these things, Shinyi. Infuse, then fight, and the team does it.
It was beautiful. They had level 10 and 11 infusions as well, and Merciless just had that level 9 infusion as well. It was a really nicely done fight because we saw the gauntlet coming up from Hell's Devil. But the thing is, when you're playing against a Crystal Blackfeather who is able to rose offensive outs, that on point, that poke, the range was incredibly strong. It managed to hit the 3 members of Rising Lotus. Sorry, I was just getting a little bit confused there. Yeah. Got there eventually. And they're really struggling to find a member to focus on the side of MOUSESPORTS. I feel like they're trying to get onto Apple, but and the whole time they're forgetting who is fair, I would say, and who's able to have this kind of escape.
You were just a little bit robotic there. It seems you recovered towards the end.
I did.
You will have to keep our eyes on. This is entirely different. Is the thing I want to talk about, Shinyi, is that, and I think you touched upon it, the desk touched upon it, it's probably more to do with comfortability for Mouse here. In fact, really on Apple more than anything. Blackfeather, an incredibly strong hero in the current meta in the lane as a weapon power laner, but if you aren't fully comfortable in the hero, if you aren't as knowing his mechanics inside and out like the back of your hand, then that definitely puts pressure on you, and you're constantly thinking about things, how you do this, how you react to these scenarios, rather than just doing it instinctively. A fight breaking out, Mal's looking to find another kill here. Oh, that's a great silence, and Hell's Devil cannot escape. I'm the Doom in trouble, Agony doing work, but Merciless Merciless cannot escape at full. That's a kill going his way. Agony will shut down the Black Feather. At full blocks the afterburn, but it's coming back up. 1 second and there he goes. Oh, the auto attack doesn't go through. Agony might just be able to escape here. Is he out of energy? No, I think he has one more afterburn. No, he does not. It costs so much, and Apfel will surely get the kill here. One more auto attack will do it. Oh no! Does manage to get out, but Mouse will not go away empty-handed. They'll find themselves a Crystal Sentry kill, and they will be able to increase their gold lead to 3,000.
Yep, Agony's escape there denies them the ace, and I think had they got the ace, we would have definitely seen MOUSESPORTS going towards the Kraken there. And I think for me, the start of that fight, I feel like it was just Rising Lotus being a little bit caught out. Hell's Devil a little bit far forward, in perfect position for Apfel to land that wait for onto multiple, I think onto Hell's Devil and Merciless there, hitting both of them. I think that was something that definitely didn't expect coming out from them. Really nice fight there from MOUSESPORTS, just picking up their reactions there. Rising Lotus, they definitely feel like they're losing the momentum that they had at the start of the game.
It's their composition. It doesn't scale well into the late game, unlike Mouse. And Mouse know this. They know that they have a gold lead, and they know that the power spikes are not there. Good dodge of the ace is high. That's going to be Apfel just charging straight onto Merciless, but Agony over the wall. Fountain goes out, but Apfel in a bit of trouble. Doom also taking lots of damage. Looks like Rising Lotus may be able to turn this. Mouse starting the fight off split, and it didn't work for them in game 1 whatsoever. Forced to court. Oh, that's huge. That's going to be polite company, and Merciless blown up. Agony trying to find a snipe. Can he get the kill? No, Apfel will escape for now. Can Hell's Devil 1v1? No, he cannot, and Apfel survives. Agony will find a kill onto I'm the Doom, but now he has to escape Apfel's reign. Just Man will go in, polite company backwards, but an afterburn would kill Apfel, and he just doesn't want to risk it. That's going to be once more the grand escape coming out of Agony.
Every single time, I think he's going to be the bane of MOUSESPORTS' life. It seems to me in these team fights, what's really impressing me about MOUSESPORTS right now is Just Man and his positioning on that fit. He's taking a lot of the damage, blocking Merciless from getting to Apfel there, because I think in that one time they had a really good opening there onto Apfel. He was a little bit out of position. Just Man wasn't really there to body block for him. Merciless was doing a lot of damage there onto Apfel, and I think part of the reason for the success of MOUSESPORTS, of MOUSESPORTS picking up a lot of the damage, and Rising Lotus, they need to get on top of Apfel, because I feel like if they do, that is a great opening for them.
Yeah, if they're able to blow up Apfel at the beginning of a fight, then all of the damage potential for Mouse is practically gone and void. CP, Black Feather, very good at poking, very good at blowing someone up, but he is very slow to taking someone out and can kind of not really do the job that the Vox is consistently being able to do for us here. Currently though, Mao's looking very comfortable in this game. They've got that 3,000 gold lead. It's not huge amounts of gold at the 18-minute mark, but because of the difference between late game scaling between the two teams, it actually is increased in importance, because an early game composition should have a gold lead over a late game composition, and if it does not, then it's in trouble. Fight breaking out, perhaps. Just Man's forced to court once more, blocked perfectly by Hell's Devil. I feel like Mouse will never be able to get a forced to court to start the fight, but definitely can get them in the middle of the fight. So they are trying to catch Hell's Devil here, doing a lot of damage. In fact, he's going to pop the gauntlet, but it is going to catch Apfel for now, but it does not keep him alive. Hell's Devil falls, Agony trapped up, will use the afterburn to knock I'm the Doom away, but the Fountain keeping him alive, and that's going to be a nice snipe, a double kill coming out from I'm the Doom. Agony does escape, but now for Mouse, an opportunity to take this Kraken.
And a very easy opportunity it is. I feel like in the team fights, what we're seeing here is, yes, we're seeing Just Man opening the engagements with that force to court every single time, and yes, it is blocked. And it just feels to me that MOUSESPORTS, they're just waiting for the perfect opportunity to land that perfect wait for it, which is hitting every single time. And it's just really catching Rising Lotus on the back foot. We were saying before how they were very proactive at the beginning, but right now that they've lost their proactiveness and they're being the ones that are forced to play defensively, it's really not working out well for them. And now that we see that I'm the Doom picking up the Slumbering Husk as well, they don't have the burst advantage that the Glaive is going to offer if he's able to get on top of him. And now with that Kraken taken as well, things are not looking great for Rising Lotus.
Certainly not. This is MOUSESPORTS looking good to push into the base and get some real damage done to this game. The first turret under siege as I'm the Doom throws those on points out. Can Rising Lotus get an engage they need? The gauntlet up in just a couple of seconds. if they want to go for it, but the turret will fall before that. Another force to core blocked up. Agony going to take a brunt of the damage, will be forced to go backwards with the afterburn defensively once more, but does get some damage out. Apfel caught in the gauntlet, and he is going to charge forward. The Aces High catches Justman, wait for it, flies out. Agony silences, he jumps in. They're going to turn straight onto him. Agony can't escape, and he will go down. Wait for it, so huge once more from Apfel, and this Kraken is going to take the turret. Now with Agony down, there could be an opportunity to win the game as Merciless is out of energy and he's going very low. He manages to get onto the staircase, but can he heal? Yes, he can. The Kraken should secure Mouse a single turret, but if they take Merciless down, then it might just be the game. Agony 18 seconds off. They are just going to fall back here, Mouse, not wanting to overextend and potentially throw their lead.
I think they're going to be going in for the chaser. I'm the Doom's relatively low. I do not think this is a good idea. I'm going to question the decision making that they're making right now because I don't think that is a good idea.
They slow down Merciless. Force to core block. Hell's Devil is wanting this, but no, they surely can't chase for too long. Actually, maybe they can. Agony has that afterburn
It's a
off
trap.
cooldown every second. It may be a trap. I don't think it is, but we'll have to find out. And it's going to be Aegis picked up, and Rising Lotus surely should give up chase now. Perhaps take a Crystal Sentry if they're feeling confident, but Mouse takes so much. The gold just continuously building in their favor.
The issue for me right now is that Rising Lotus in the team fights, Agony, he's relying a lot on the burst damage coming out from that Stormcry and Aftershock combination, and right now he is just not getting the chance to stick to either I'm the Doom or to Apfel. And the damage coming out from Merciless as well, it just does not seem enough. I'm the Doom has now picked up that Slumbering Husk. He's sitting on also an Aegis and an Atlas Pauldrons. And if you look at Apfel as well, that is also a lot of defense that he's sitting on. They're not getting the opening. They either need a little bit more damage, which I don't think they can do right now because we're at the 21-minute mark. They don't have the space in their inventory to get those items. And I feel like the Rising Lotus, they're really sitting on the back foot in their engagements and the way they're carrying out these team fights.
Yeah, no, they are. And, you know, it is this power difference that Mouse have been able to accumulate for themselves. At a 22-minute mark, you just don't expect a Gwen and a Glaive to really be able to hold up against the Black Feather and the Vox. There's just so much power there. Force to Cord still being blocked. I still feel it is just not the way you engage the fight, but perhaps it's the opening they need to allow Rising Lotus to feel comfortable taking fights against Mouse. Either way, it is just one Vein Crystal turret standing in between Mouse and that beautiful crystal to be taken. Is going to be Rising Lotus pushing forward. They could look for a gauntlet engage here. Hell's Devil pops the War Treads. Here comes Agony around the side, but he only pops Apfel away. Merciless getting dived upon. The gauntlet goes out, but they can't get through. Oh no, Doom does, and Apfel's doing damage to the Hell's Devil as we speak. Merciless goes down. Hell's Devil goes down, and it's just Agony. He's escaped before, but will he do it again? No, he can't escape forever. An ace for Mouse. The minions at the turret. They will take this second game.
That felt like it was inevitable there. MOUSESPORTS just felt like they were always going to win that team fight. And it just goes into that, the kind of issue with the power and the way that they're able to just choose their targets. That is a very interesting second game, actually, from the two teams as well. Rising Lotus, I just felt like they didn't push their advantage in the early game enough. And as a result, MOUSESPORTS, once they got into the late game with that Crystal Blackfeather and that Weapon Vox, they just really came into their own there.
Yeah, it certainly did. Apfel has been putting up killer performances on Vox and Gwen this week, and I think comfortability is what Mouse needed to take this game over Rising Lotus. We're going to a third game, Shinyi, so let's throw it back to our analysts to break down the potentials.
You're absolutely right, Dowsy. We are going to be going to a third game in this series. We've got a treat on our hands for the first series of the day.
First game 3 in Europe.
First game 3 in Europe. You're absolutely right. The rest have been 2-0s. I'm, of course, joined by Tasty Bacon and Suijay. I nearly called you Jinyi, but definitely not Jinyi. I don't know. I think my brain is on a bit of a weird one today. But let's break that down a little bit more, because definitely felt like there was some a little bit strange picks, like the Finn, for example, but it definitely worked out.
Yeah, and Rising Lotus needed to win that early game. They had 3 kills to 0, and then threw away that lead and made it 3-3. And then it led to a key fight in the mid game that MOUSESPORTS won, and they took gold mine and got the lead around the 10-minute mark. And you can see here, like, Finn with Blackfeather actually synergized really well, because when he gets a Rose Trail, Finn can actually jump on that Rose Trail, go on to the enemy carry and stun them. And Justman played Finn really well. He had some good force to chords. He had a lot of good quibbles. He timed his polite company really well to give that barrier to his team and doomed on this CP Blackfeather. I mean, the precision of his on points are so good. Like, he did a really good job outpoking the team, and MOUSESPORTS just did it really well there.
It's funny because we talk about I'm the Doom being a phenomenal CP Kestrel, and really good with these on points. Last game, he had trouble with the Celeste ultimates, like the really thin, narrow skill shots. He's really on point with the huge, wide, like lane-wide skill shots. He's not being perfect with. So, you just gotta keep him on the high skill cap heroes, and he'll go off.
Yeah, and I like Apho on the weapon carry like Vox, etc. Like I said, I don't really like his melee weapon power carries. They're not as good as his lane carries like Gwen, Vox, etc. So he really did a good job. He blocked a lot of Atlases consistently this game. And look at the on-point precision. You just see that? Like, just landed on that Gwen. Like, that's really
right
hard
at the
to...
edge of range as well.
It's really hard to land. I mean, it's a range 9, but I mean, his precision on that has been really, really great. So, nice job by MOUSESPORTS. And the Finn worked really well because when the gauntlet came down, Finn was there with his team. He gave the fortified health. He got a lot of good quibbles on the team, and it ended up working in their favor.
And Bacon, you much preferred the Vox pickup for Mercedes as opposed to the Gwen. Is that correct?
Yeah, I think the Vox pickup is just a little bit stronger, and Mercedes looked a lot better on the Vox as well. This game, there was multiple situations where, as they're trying to like move a fight around, either they're trying to disengage or trying to chase, Mercedes was just sort of running and wasn't stutter stepping in, and that's one of the keys you have to be doing at this level of plays. You need to be stutter stepping whenever you're trying to move a fight. You have to be getting attacks out and dishing out damage, otherwise you're going to fall behind.
You've got to maximize that damage out.
And there's one key fight where Mercedes used the Ace's High to stun Blackfeather and then hit Finn, and Finn can't get stunned, so that was a pretty interesting miss on the ultimate there.
So what are we expecting now coming into the third and final draft of this series? Because you know, there has definitely been some off-the-wall picks across the course of this series. Do we have any idea what to expect coming into this last one?
I would expect, again, Arden and Vox to be our first two picks. Grumpjaw Baron probably going to be banned away again. So I don't think those first four are going to be pretty much set in stone. I don't think there's going to be much difference there. And from there, they're just going to be trying to make adaptations. I don't think we can really necessarily predict where they're going to go after those first couple picks.
Yeah, both teams are going to prioritize that Arden. They both really like Arden, and then they're going to ban away the junglers like CP Kestrel, Samuel. So I think the draft's going to play out very similar unless one of the teams change their first pick and throw off the other team. Instead of first picking Arden, maybe take Samuel or take Kestrel or something. So let's see if they're going to try to do that. Otherwise, they're going to follow the same similar draft that they did the past two games. Yep, looks like it's going to be that way. So is MOUSESPORTS going to take Arden here, or are they going to take the a Vox or something potentially here and secure Vox? Yep, they are. They're going to switch it up, and I think that's really, really smart from MOUSESPORTS. So Rising Low, are they going to take Samuel now? They're going to change it up, take Samuel, and let the Arden get banned here, and make sure they secure that Samuel for themselves. So let's see what Rising Lotus does.
It definitely changes the series. We'll have to see what they're going to go for.
Maybe they take Lance. They did really well on Lance. Like, Hell's Devil had a great Lance. Oh, there we go. There's a Lance. So they need to ban...
Weatherman Suijay.
They need to ban... They're not going to ban Arden. I feel like they're probably going to give Kestrel over unless they want to play Lance into Kestrel potentially. So they probably might ban Kestrel here or even Arden. So let's see what they want to do, because Arden is really a strong roamer into Lance. It's like an even matchup, I feel.
We'll have to see where they are going to go with this one. What are your thoughts so far, Bacon? Because obviously Arden still wide open unless one of the teams bans it. There is the Kestrel.
I think banning away the Kestrel is extremely smart. You can't let that go over to I'm the Doom, but at the same time, it's fallen out of favor for, like, if you're not a Kestrel specialist, it's not a great pickup for yourself. So they don't want to play it, and you don't want to let I'm the Doom have it.
There's Samuel ban. I think Idris will come out here potentially. That's a strong hero with Lance. It's a great combo. Or they can do Gwen Lance again, but I feel like his Gwen isn't that strong. So I feel like Idris, his melee carries are really strong. Like Blackfeather, Idris on Rising Lotus side look really good. So they may potentially pick up the Idris here. Let's see if they're going to decide to do that. Oh, they're going to pick Blackfeather instead. And I did call the melee open power carry on Rising Lotus. So it's great draft so far. I feel like Vox, Arden will be picked up here potentially, or they might do even Finn, which is good into Blackfeather. Finn and potentially Glaive, but let's see what they decide here.
Yeah, they still have a lot of time to play with as well. They don't have to rush this decision, as the rest of the draft has gone fairly quickly. They've got all of that bonus time stacked up. So the Blackfeather, we're expecting that to go into lane as weapon powered. No chance of that being CP?
I would expect it to be in the lane. It is Merciless's second most played hero throughout, like in solo queue and all that sort of stuff. It's his second most popular pick, so definitely expecting it to end up in the lane. And as far as, well, there's
yeah,
gonna be another
the Finn is going to come out, and then they're going to probably either take Sky, Glaive, Baptiste, if they do play Baptiste, or even Alpha, but I doubt they're going to pick that Alpha up. But I think Baptiste, Rhyme is really solid into this composition right here. Hopefully they don't pick Glaive. I don't think they'll play Koshka here, so let's see what they decide to do here for, or even Scarf for Sky, but I think they're going to lean towards Baptiste or Rhyme here. Let's see what happens.
It's interesting to see their focus on Finn as well. Justman obviously very comfortable on this hero, but this is, you know, this series is the first Finn we've seen in the entire season. Obviously, we've only had one day of play so far, but it's not something we were necessarily expecting to see that much of, but definitely have prevalence on it. And a Petal going to be locked in, so another first for the season.
Yeah, Petal is very surprising. So Rising Lotus may go with a Scarf to counter it here in the jungle, because Glaive would not be as a good pick. Or they might go CP Blackfeather in jungle and then dual laner, but I think they want him on a weapon power, so they could do Glaive, weapon power, CP Blackfeather here. Could work too. Let's see what they decide.
Yeah, I mean, I'm the Doom has played a few games of the Petal in his, at least in the solo queue. It hasn't played it really competitively, so that's going to be definitely interesting to see it come out here. Very curious to watch what it's going to be, what impact it's going to be able to have, if any. But the Blackfeather Gwen dealing with a Petal is not exactly the most difficult task for them.
Yeah, Petal can definitely be a frustrating jungler to go against, especially as a melee character. We'll see how that is going to pan out for these guys. So, once again, we have a draft where some of the picks are very much unexpected, very off the wall. How do we feel it's gone for the two teams, though?
I have to say, I do like the draft that Rising Lotus has better here. I don't really see where the Petal is going to fit in against a Gwen Blackfeather. They both have a little bit of AoE. They can both chase. That's one of the Petal's biggest strengths, is their ability to escape and kite. But they are both Gwen and Blackfeather are very strong at sticking onto a target.
Suijay?
I think the drafts are pretty even. I do like Vox and Finn though. Petal is an interesting draft pick, but Vox and Finn are just so strong together, and I like Apfel's Vox over Merciless's Gwen, so I'm going to go for MOUSESPORTS here.
All right, well, our analysts have decided their favor. We want to know who you guys at home are favoring as well. Get involved in the conversation using that hashtag Vainglory8. I've had a few tweets at me. I'm going to be replying. I'm going to be getting in the conversation on Twitter as well, so get involved. But it's time, once again, to throw it over to our casters for game number 3.
Mouse versus this Rising Lotus team. A game 3 Shinyi to decide which one of these teams will be going to the first week of finals here in Europe. Both teams have put up strong performances, but only one can proceed.
I think it's the first game 3 of Europe this season, isn't it? And what a series it has been so far. And we're seeing Apple back on the Vox. I think definitely a comfort pick for him. I feel like he is so much more comfortable on ranged heroes as opposed to like melee such as Blackfeather. Not the strongest performance from him from today. And we've been saying a lot, I think we said a lot yesterday. We're talking a lot about I'm the Doom's Crystal Kestrel and how a lot of people just kind of think he is this one-trick Kestrel. But he's been showing over the past weekend this quite really impressive repertoire actually of junglers. So he's been playing this Rhyme, he's also played a Blackfeather, now he's gone onto this Petal, who's had a slight nerf in terms of the cooldown for laying down the seeds, but still a very strong jungler.
Yeah, he's played 5 different heroes. One per game that he's played.
Only one Kestrel.
Only one Kestrel, and it was available in 2 games. So, you know, it is definitely an improvement from Doom to increase that hero pool. A lot of people definitely do accuse him of being that one-trick pony Kestrel, but the thing about I'm the Doom is that he is just a god Kestrel, and he does actually have other heroes that he can pull into his hero pool, perhaps just never at the same level of his Kestrel. But hey man, if you're the best Kestrel in the world, at least by my standards, then being the best other hero in the world is probably a little bit too much to ask.
Definitely. It looks like there's a bit of contention here for the Elder Tree, and Hell's Devil being quite bold in the way, and I think he's not going to really get the chance to deny that away from I'm the Doom there, who's going to pick it up fairly comfortably. So the thing is, look. So I've been personally really impressed by Justman's the way he's been playing so far. His Finn, his Lance, his Arden, they've all been very impressive, and I really he's so comfortable at landing those skill shots every single time. And I think in the last game as well, he was hitting those quibbles really well, using that force accord at the start of the team fights, just to force that Crucible out. And I can certainly expect the same thing from this time, just forcing that early Crucible out from Hell's Devil, because what they were doing in the last game was they were using that force accord there, forcing the Crucible, and then the wait for it would come out, and that was something that we were seeing a lot of once everyone hit the level 6 mark.
Yeah, no, and I'm really interested to see how the different teams react once those ultimates are online, because it's kind of the same deal for Mouse, that you've got this petal. She can blow people up just like the Black Feather was capable of doing. And for the side of Rising Lotus, well, they don't have this huge engage ultimate of the Gauntlet at level 6, but they do have a bit more consistency with the lands to be able to peel and engage, something the Arden just didn't offer. So for Rising Lotus, it kind of feels like they've adapted their composition to meet some of the weaknesses that were there, and Mouse have kind of just adapted it and changed it a little bit.
I definitely agree with you there. So last time they also had that Gwen there, and Gwen we both said wasn't really scaling that well into the late game, and they also had that Glaive that also didn't really scale that well into the late game. But this time they have that CP Blackfeather, who will have a much better job. The only thing is, if we're looking at the jungle matchups, I feel that Petal has a stronger jungle presence in the early game compared to that Blackfeather, and that's going to be a bit of an issue, because typically in the past we've seen Rising Lotus, they've played to their power spikes, they've said, okay, we've got the early game advantage, we will take advantage of this. This time they're going to struggle a little bit more, because yes, they do have that Gwen there who's great early game, mid game spikes, but once we go into the late game, not great. Whereas MOUSESPORTS...
It is worth noting that we are playing on update 2.5 here, Shinyi.
Yes.
We haven't actually moved over to 2.6 yet. That will happen next week, and Grace will be available to play in competitive play next week. You know, I'm really intrigued to see if any team bring it in week 1 of availability. But Petal did receive a nerf in 2.5, and she's not really renowned for a great late game Petal. She does fall off incredibly. So for Mouse, if they are going to make this Petal a priority pick, a pick that is effective, then they actually need to start getting kills with it.
I think so. I think they're just waiting for Amdadum just to reach that level 6. Actually, they're able to stick onto Agony there.
Ooh, on the Doom, dodges out that Impale. That's going to be Polite Company slowing down. Hell's Devil has to pop his boots to escape that one. And it is going to be Mouse once more gaining control. In fact, they're moving to the lane, but Merciless, with the information from his team, knows that a gank could be intimate, and he is going to fall back. But it does allow for some tasty turret damage coming out, and those seeds can tank up the turret for a little bit, which means that even more damage from Mouse. They're just going for it right now, gunning right down onto half HP. Justman is going for it as Apfel has to pull back as he was tanking up the turret damage, and that turret is just going to be left on a blinking health bar, ready to be taken on the next push.
Yeah, they use a lot of their resources on that, so Justman and Apfel both having to go home. But that's a great power spike coming out from both of the members. The Fountain being picked up as well as a Sora Blade. But on the other side, you see Mercer's gain that tension bow as well. And even though in that 2.5 update, she did...
Oh, I've lost you once more, Shinyi.
I feel like I had a robot moment.
A robot moment. Well, sometimes it's robotic, Shinyi, and sometimes you just disappear into the void. So, yeah. I guess that's just Scotland, though, for you. No.
You're not that far away.
Gonna be fighting here in the lane. I'm the Doom, now level 6, looking to try and make the combustion a reality for the team. Does get impaled. Oh, huge damage blown up completely. And now Justman is in trouble as Agony is pushing forward. On points can just tear through, and look at the damage. A double for Agony. And Impale lands. They're going to go for the triple. And he gets it. That's Agony just showing up huge in that moment.
What a turnaround there for Rising Lotus. Yeah, that's the thing. Amdadum just took so much damage there from the boomstick, and the tension bow just absolutely hit him like a truck. Tried to get the spontaneous combustion, just wasn't quick enough, so wasn't able to get the healing powers off it. And That's the thing about this Tensionable Gwen. Incredibly strong when she hits that spike as well. And we also saw that Shatterglass on Agony there doing a lot of damage. They really took advantage of it, and now it's completely flipped on its head. We're seeing Rising Lotus. They're the ones that are picking up the ace and the first turret off the game.
Yeah, and that is a huge turnaround here for the side of Rising Lotus. Considering that this pedal was so strong in the early game, they have just managed to catch I'm the Doom at a weak moment. And with talking to players, they kind of feel like I'm the Doom is either the make it or break it player for the team. He's either going to show up huge and be a massive carrying force, and we've seen that time and time again from him, or he'll be the one who unfortunately gets caught out and throws away some advantages. Mouse need to tidy their act up now, or else they're going to find themselves going down a path they do not want to see.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think they just do a little bit better if they get the chance to kind of poke away a little bit more, especially that Petal there. She's got that Frostburn. She's great at chasing down. However, she just doesn't seem to do it as well when Rising Lotus are the ones being the aggressors here. And I think that was definitely the case in that last team fight there. But for now, he's got that Poison Shiv. He's got a little bit more sustain. I think that's going to go a long way, but he gets rooted up.
Does get rooted up. Will be able to escape the clutches of Rising Lotus there. It will just be him falling back for now. Rising Lotus, though, 1,000 gold in the advantage, 3 kills and a turret. Everything just going their way. Even Agony's still in a way Trients as he passes on by, really making his name a case in Mouse's book right now. All 3 kills onto this Black Feather. Justman, though, pulls in huge. Do they want this fight? They Polite Company, and that Quiver goes down. Hell's Devil misses the Impale. Aces High silences Justman, but the Fountain will come out just before he dies. Can they turn the fight? Agony going very low. I'm the Doom, though, out of energy, trying to do the work, but he just doesn't have the damage. And Apple is trying to 1v2 this entire time. He's going to take down Agony, and now he will just continue his chase, but energy not on his favor, and he will not be able to continue the fight. This is an interesting thing. Oh no, he is going for it.
Oh, he's going.
I just don't think he has the damage. Impale can connect, and that might be Apple dead. He's going to die anyway, but he gets one for his efforts. Perhaps worthwhile, depending on what you feel. At least Apple getting a bit of gold into his back pocket. Mal's continuously split, though, Shinyi, in these fights.
Definitely. I think part of the issue is before... Oops. Sorry, I knock things over sometimes. That was definitely one of those times where I just like to knock things over. I think the issue is with Justman. So when Rising Lotus, they're the ones being aggressive, it's forcing MOUSESPORTS to start disengaging right now. He doesn't have the War Tres, he's got the tier 1 boots as well. He's so slow, and it's just so easy for them to stack up there and just dealing a lot of damage. And sometimes I feel like it forces out a relatively early Fountain, which doesn't work out so well in their favor. And I feel like once he does upgrade the boots a little bit, maybe we'll be seeing things going a little bit more their way, but never mind that.
Hell's Devil does attempt the Impale, but it doesn't connect, and so I'm the Doom will be safe for now. Does have to watch out. The Giffian War Impale going to be coming up. Wait for it goes out. Oh, he's not going to be able to found it himself, and that is huge for Mouse. They are going to secure the turret. In fact, he popped Fountain already, and it wasn't enough to keep himself alive. Great play from Mouse to be able to find a way back into this game. And it does seem like they are going to get a gold mine as well. Rising Lotus contesting this could be dangerous, but never mind that. If Apple goes down that low, then actually the contest is possible. On point! Will not connect. Agony does take a lot of damage, getting slowed down, trying to escape the damage from this pedal. Turns around, in fact. I'm the Doom's going forward. The shield is there. I'm the Doom goes very low. Apple over the wall will find the auto attack, and that's going to be a slow. Merciless's looking to blow up I'm the Doom, and he will be successful. And now Justman is trying to run. Impale doesn't connect, but Rising Lotus do not care. Justman is going to make himself the sacrificial lamb to make sure that Merciless does, Apple does escape. Does mean that he falls to Merciless in the process. 1 step forward, perhaps 2 steps back, but as far as gold is concerned, it is an advantage for Mouse.
Yeah, they were able to get the gold mine and the turrets, and I feel like MOUSESPORTS are going to come into their own in their team fights right now. I feel like in the last one, so I really like how Justman was able to hold on to the Fountain for so long. I just think it was a little bit too late. I'm the Doom, as that pestle, incredible range there on her basic attacks. I think just a little bit too far forward, very easy for Merciless just to get the damage down. And I think also the issue was Apfel kind of on the wrong side of the wall. We could see him trying to decide when to use the Sonic Zoom to join the rest of his teammates. I think he just made that little decision a split second too late there, but looks like both of the teams are out for blood right now.
Yeah, both teams are out for blood and a fight breaking out in the lane as well. Or ultimates available there for the team. And they are going to see if they go in. That's a pull in. Mercilessly is trapped up. Oh, he just gets blown up. The wait for it silences everything. The fountain could not be used. Once more from Hell's Devil. And now he has to try and help Agony escape. Perhaps giving up his life in the process. Justman going to try and catch out this Lance and pull him back with Plight Company. That's going to be this Lance falling again. Wow. Mouse pulling themselves back into this game, and now once more kills going their way.
Oh, beautifully dirty combination there coming out from Justman and Apfel there with the... So we saw the Quibble, so we saw the Force Accord pulling all three members in. It wasn't even blocked, the cooldowns was still there on the Crucible, and then it followed up by the Wafer. Like you said, they just did not have time to react to that. They weren't able to use the Fountain. It just caught all three members, and they were all in such close range that you could easily follow up there with the Quibble onto all of them. It was a very brutal combination that is definitely something I'm going to be a bit more careful of. And as a Crystal Blackfeather, if they are able to get on top of you like that, you can see how quickly you can go down, because right now he hasn't invested that much in defense, and as a Crystal Blackfeather, with your on point, you have a great range. You don't need to be, you don't always have to invest in the defense that early, with the Force Core present. So I think something you're going to have to consider about once we go a little bit more into the late game.
Yeah, no, I'm expecting to see those tier 2 defensive items start to be stacked up by Agony. Look at Rising Lotus, so looking for a death push bait here. Justman's going to walk towards them. The entire mouse is walking towards them. Apfel's rooted up. He's in trouble. Fountain goes out. He's trying to escape Agony, but the on points will slow. Oh, good pull in, and Mercilessly is in the middle of the fight. I'm the Doom. Fountain going to heal him up, but Agony is on top. Apfel gets taken on down. Mal's being torn apart, and Justman will go down. Oh, he gets a double. Never mind. Justman just made that terrible situation sting a whole lot less.
Yeah, picking up 2 kills there with the Crystal Sentry, and this is what I mean about the two teams. It feels like they're very evenly matched. Either team fights are going either way. It's so difficult to predict, and if you're looking at the goal difference, it's 600 between the two teams. And these, even though Rising Lotus, they picked up the ace there, there's not much Hell's Devil can do because he doesn't have a Storm Crown. He isn't able to push down the objectives or even get the gold mine at this stage. It feels like a bit of an empty ace at this point.
Empty ace indeed. That's exactly what it is. Justman, a huge turnaround with that double kill means that there's nothing to be gained. That fight effectively did not happen for Rising Lotus.
It definitely didn't, and that's the thing, if you're going to be the last one left alive, you don't want to be the support that's left alive, but we're seeing the infusions coming out, and it does not look like MOUSESPORTS are prepared for this fight, and they have no way of getting into the shop, because if you look at the Rising Lotus position, taking a very aggressive stance, preventing them from going to the shop, and just forcing MOUSESPORTS back into their turrets.
Yeah, control of that middle map area, and you know, Hell's Devil's vision control has been on point so far this game. So many scout traps out. They know exactly where Mals are, and they know that this gold mine will be contested. In fact, going to fall back and allow the gold miner to reset its health bar so as not to give away any advantage to Mals here. Much rather give up the objective that risk a 50-50. The Kraken, though, will gobble up. It is the victor of the gold miner, and now a bigger objective to fight over.
In MOUSESPORTS, they're looking a lot safer position to be looking for the fights. Now, we are seeing the infusions coming out from Apfel and Justman. I'm the Dooms just ran out, but it looks like Rising Lotus, they're looking to make a move into this, picking up the ace, trying to take that Kraken out, but I feel like MOUSESPORTS are just rotating down to the shop there. I don't know if Rising Lotus will get in time to prevent this from happening.
It does look like they've got to the shop. That's going to be infusions picked up now. So infusions available for everyone. Apfel and Justman have theirs running. And I'm the Doom can pop his when the fight begins as well. Make sure he gets the most out of it. There will be an infusion advantage for the side of Mouse if a fight was to break out at this 16-minute mark. Both teams dancing back and forth in their respective tri-pushes. but no one really wanting to pull the trigger just yet. Expect Justman to try and find a forced accord, and there it is, but a Crucible once more from Hell's Devil will block up any potential disasters for Rising Lotus. And now with that crucial ultimate down, we've seen typically Rising Lotus want to find and engage, and impale onto I'm the Doom is an excellent start. Justman looking to tank it up, a good silence comes out, the wait for it does force Rising Lotus backwards. And there is still fountains available for both these teams. And Justman perhaps in a bit of trouble. His high connects onto I'm the Doom. The fountain's going to come out, but Apfel's charging forward. Straight into the middle of the fight, gets heals from the combustion as well. And Mouse looking good to turn this on its head, continue the chase, and look to take someone down. Fountain turn. They're turning Rising Lotus, but they just don't have the damage. 1, 2, a double for the Doom before he goes down. And Hell's Devil cannot escape, doesn't make it over the wall. It's an ace for Mouse, and the Kraken to be taken.
What a fight that was at the start, and I felt like Rising Lotus, they were poking really well there onto I'm the Doom. I think he was about half health when they first started that team, when they properly kicked off the team fight. And actually the whole time was that they're focusing so much on I'm the Doom that Apfel's the whole time, even with very little energy, was completely full health there, was able to stack up the breaking point. And I think that was the biggest detriment of Rising Lotus there, by was kind of forgetting about Apfel. It was very easy for him to just dance around the back line there and just get that damage down onto Merciless and Agony. And I think that's part of the issue, is that Justman, he's landing those quibbles. Every time we are seeing Agony or Merciless trying to get onto either of the members of MOUSESPORTS, he is stunning them and just stopping them right in their tracks.
MOUSESPORTS now with the Kraken Unleashed Shinyi are looking to push down the game. The tier 2 turret is not there. It's just the choke point turret. Last time they managed to get 3 turrets for their Kraken Shinyi, and if that was to happen again, then the Vein Crystal would be entirely exposed.
Yeah, but I don't know. I feel like that MOUSESPORTS, with that poke, especially coming out from Peso, is going to be doing a really good job of just pushing those last few turrets down. That's going to be blocked. And
going for the fight though, Apfel does get rooted. Quibble slows down, wait for it, kits. No one. Silence is not there, but this choke point turret is going very low. Apfel in trouble. The Founder comes out, but can he survive is the question. Gets the block, gets the shielding, but he's out. He's gone. Agony, he's going to continue the chase, but they're turning onto I'm the Doom. Trampolines, but not to safety. On point will finish the job. And Justman, well, he's just going to walk forward and make sure that this turret is the focus rather than Apfel. The Kraken breaks the base, but it will not find a second turret there. The gold being fed back into the pockets of Rising Lotus makes this a very even game.
A very even game. That's what we've been saying for the last 2 games between these 2 teams. It just feels like that gold difference. We're never really going to see that consistent gold lead going towards either of the teams right now. And with that, the only one left alive there in the jungle, having to be quite a little bit cautious, because we're seeing Rising Lotus. They're looking very aggressive. They're moving into the jungle, I assume, to try and push down that Crystal Sentry before the members of MOUSESPORTS spawn. And that looks like exactly what they're going to be doing.
So, Crystal Sentry will be taken by Rising Lotus. This is probably the furthest they've adventured so far in this game into the side of Mouse's territory, and to be doing it now when their base is exposed to the world seems a little bit peculiar. But something that we need to touch upon, Shinyi, is the fact that the Petal is starting to hit this late game point, which means that the damage output is probably nowhere near the same level of this Black Feather.
I agree with you, and I feel part of the issue is if you're looking at the positioning, Hell's Devil is landing those impales onto I'm the Doom pretty much at the start of every single fight, and then we're seeing that chain up, the follow-up with the Githian wall stunning her into the wall as well. And I think in the last fight was, if you're looking at the clustering of MOUSESPORTS, is that they're kept very close together, making it very easy for Hell's Devil to be landing those crowd control engages at the start. And as a result, the follow-up from Agony and Merciless is really strong, but never mind that, it looks like they're going in for yet another team fight.
Apfel rooted at the beginning of this fight. The wait for it doesn't connect with anyone. The silence is not there. That's going to be another block. The Aces High doesn't connect, and now Mouse are on the back foot. Justman being focused on down. Apfel, though, going to charge forward, and Merciless is the main target. Justman going low. Merciless trying to escape this Petal and will just be able to, but Agony is now going to take the brunt of this damage on the back foot. Impale can't make it through the wall, and so both these teams going to walk away. Health bars very low, but Mouse with the advantage, and the Kraken, well, she's back on up, so it's something to fight over over for sure. If Rising Lotus go back now, it could be an opportunity to take this Kraken, but Mouse, they just don't have the vision to know for sure if this will be contested. Never mind, they're going to go for the hero play. Rising Lotus will be expecting this, and look at them charge on your minimap straight towards this Kraken. Down to half HP, Petal not taking it as quickly as possible. The contest could be there. They know it's happening. They're going to go for it. Mao's going to fall back, and they're going to allow the Kraken to regen. But will Rising Lotus just go for it themselves? That's going to be a Forster Cord flying out, not connecting with anyone, means the Crucible still available. And yes, Rising Lotus wants this. They're looking to try and re-engage the fight. Merciless going to not be taken down by that Quibble. Silence onto Justman. I'm the Doom going very low. Kraken is unleashed. No. That's going to be Agony taking it, but huge damage onto Rising Lotus. Merciless going very low. Apfa looking for the kill, and he's going to find it. Agony now in the midst of it, and he goes down as well. The Kraken may be unleashed, but it does not seem like it matters, as it's going to be Rising Lotus finding 2 kills to none.
They're going to get 2 kills, and they're going to get that 1,500 gold. And I don't think the Kraken is even going to get a chance to push down that the second tower actually off MOUSESPORTS. It's going down incredibly fast, and I feel like that was a bit of a throw coming out from Rising Lotus. Yes, he did get the Kraken, but it was a wasted Kraken as they lose their 2 carries, and Hell's Devil once again is the only one left alive here. And I think this would be a nice comfortable gold swing going towards MOUSESPORTS once they take down this Kraken.
Yeah, the silver lining is that the Kraken did go to Rising Lotus. If it had not been taken, or if it had gone to MOUSESPORTS, then the potential for MOUSESPORTS to just charge and end the game was there. So that's the silver lining, is that Agony did secure the Kraken. It meant that Mouse did have to deal with the Kraken and push it back. But like you mentioned, gold has swung in their favor. We have hit this 45,000 gold mark. It's kind of my base number, Shinyi, give or take some thousands, of where gold just doesn't mean anything anymore because the late game items are there. Everyone is hitting that 6-item build. But it is impressive to see that despite the fact that this Petal is still kind of being relevant in this game.
She's definitely relevant, and actually if you look at I like the Slumbering Husk that we're seeing I'm the Doom that's he's just picked up there, because if you look at Agony, that's a lot. Oh no,
they've tried this before, Rising Lotus. Was it successful the first time?
I feel like MOUSESPORTS were able to turn it around, but they've been spotted out with the flare.
Oh, it was successful, but Justmen did get the double kill. So that was the Death Bush attempt last time where they got the meaningless ace, but they are spotted out like you mentioned. Learning from mistakes there, Justman will make sure the vision is ready. And you cannot afford to fall to the same trick twice.
Absolutely not. But one thing that we're seeing that's really impressive coming out from Hell's Devil is the vision control that he's laying down all the scout traps across the jungle. And it takes a large amount of advantage away from MOUSESPORTS right now. As I feel like Hell's Devil a little bit far forward, his rest of his team is beginning to catch up with him.
There'll be a fight breaking up by the looks of things. Hell's Devil going to take a lot of damage as he is very far up, down to half HP. Another well-timed Crucible. Hell's Devil has just been expertly blocking this Forster Cord, but Owls are not done yet. Quibble doesn't land. Oh, and Ace's High goes backwards. Merciless throws it the wrong way, and Mouse are going to use this as their opportunity to charge forward. Not able to find a re-engage for themselves. Rising Lotus matching War Treads with War Treads, but Merciless perhaps new to this Vainglory 8th stage. The nerves may be getting to him in this late game.
Holding up well so far. He's picking up that mess with Jack, which is going to be doing a lot against Alpha. So we did see a nerf to Atlas Pauldrons in the 2.5 update. So cooldowns were increased and the attack speed reduction was also decreased as well. So I think a fairly significant nerf. And we've actually been seeing a lot of people picking up the Metal Jacket instead of the Atlas Pauldrons, especially if they are the principal carry.
Summoning Husk also received a buff in this update as well, 2.5, so it is why we see I'm the Doom prioritizing it. Extra health, another extra 100 health added to the item, as well as the cooldown on the fortified health reduced. Hell's Devil is all by himself. Forster Cord will not connect. He impales just those seeds, and it looks like Rising Lotus are going to reconvene with their captain for now. Agony charging forward, but they're split. Hell's Devil is so far from Merciless, and that's going to be the way for it flying out. Agony the main target, a Quibble lands, but look at the damage onto I'm the Doom. They have Fountain is just too late. Apfel trying to do the work, but he's going to get impaled down, and Agony's going to charge forward and try and finish off the job onto this Vox. Apfel's still alive. Happy Feet. Can he dance away? For now, it's not going to be enough, and Justman will be now focused on down. He's just trying to buy time, walk as far away as possible, but it does not matter. Rising Lotus find themselves a clean ace, and the Kraken will be theirs.
It was such a promising fight for MOUSESPORTS at the start, because we did see Hell's Devil completely split from the rest of his team, and I feel like that was a really strong turnaround. But we just saw a lot of focus there going to I Am the Doom. The fortified health from the Slumbering Husk did kick in, but they kept on him, and in the end it just wasn't enough. He just went out so quickly. Apfel left in a very rocky position. Crystal Sentry went up to join them. It was very much a 4 versus 2 situation, and Rising Lotus just getting a turret, and they're going to get the Kraken as well.
They're going to get a second turret. This is huge. They took 2 turrets before the Kraken was unleashed. The only thing stopping Rising Lotus from finishing the game is those 2 Vein Crystal turrets. 2 turrets before the Kraken was taken. That's a massive, massive advantage for Rising Lotus. So much gold in the pockets, and they're going to purchase up the remaining items necessary for this aggression. Infusions all around, and MOUSESPORTS are going to have to put up a hero defense if they want to stay in this game.
They definitely are. That Kraken, Rising Lotus, especially with Agony there with that on point, can apply a lot of pressure to MOUSESPORTS. I can definitely see I Am the Doom taking a little bit of damage there as they are beginning to push into the base.
Impale lands onto Apfel. Forced to cord, doesn't connect. Wait for it, will not connect either. Quibble locks down Hell's Devil, but Mouse are charging forward. Impale this time onto I'm the Doom. He is healing through the damage this time. Apfel is doing a lot, and he's not even being touched. This is looking like Mouse are just going to continue charging forward, but I'm the Doom goes low. Fountain healing him up. Agony goes forward to try and finish the job, but he goes down. That's going to be Merciless falling as well. Rising Lotus are falling apart. The Kraken pushing the base, but Mouse may not even care. They're going to go finish the game as soon as Hell's Devil finishes. That's going to be the ace, but now we got a base race. Rising Lotus, they're going to be hoping this Kraken is quick enough. It's going to take this turret down to around 1/3 HP before even Mouse connect to the base. This could be a terrible decision if they aren't quick at taking these turrets. I hope production is switching back and forth. Mouse taking this first turret down. The Kraken is onto the Vein Crystal, but I think Mouse might just have the speed and the damage to win this base race out. Vein Crystal will be exposed. The Vein Crystal on the other side is down to half HP, but it just doesn't matter. Mouse will take the series, and from Spring Split, 1-game win to Summer Season, their first week in Europe, they are fighting for a final win.
I don't think we could have asked for a closer last game of the series. MOUSESPORTS very impressive in the last 2 team fights. They're making the decision not to focus on the Kraken and instead focusing on picking up the ace there onto Rising Lotus. But very strong week from Rising Lotus. I think they knocked out G2 2-0 yesterday in the offline matches, and very strong performance against MOUSESPORTS today.
Very surprising stuff, Xinyi. I wonder what our analysts have to say about that. MOUSESPORTS, our first finalist of Europe.
A fitting way to end the series, I think it's fair to say. Insanely close game, insanely close series across the board. That was just mind-boggling to watch, but I want to start the conversation on this Petal pick. It was definitely like a sharp breathe-in when they locked it in the draft. How do we feel it's turned out across the course of the game?
I'm still not super thrilled with it. I mean, even though they won, I don't think it was necessarily a pick that... It's not the reason they won. They won with the Petal, but not because of the Petal.
Okay.
Yeah, I think Petal was okay in the mid game. Late game, it got a little dicey. I like the build though. Vox on Apfel is what really helped the game, and Justman, I said Justman and that Vox and Finn combination just worked really well. He landed some good Forza cores, lots of really good quibbles, and he maxed his Polite Company, which means that the barrier, the fortified health barrier, that it's not actually, it's a fortified health. It's 4 seconds, last 4 seconds, and it's a 270, I believe, plus a certain percentage of Finn's health and defenses. So that's a really good call by Justman to max the B instead of the ultimate there. So very calculated on their part. You can tell they played this comp really well, but a lot of these quibbles and a lot of CC, Finn is really good into Lance. You know, yeah. Finn cannot be displaced or moved and can stun with the quibble and AoE area, and I thought they played that comp really well.
And I want to go back to the draft a little bit as well, too, with the, we were talking about the Vox pickup for Apfel. Apfel is obviously extremely comfortable with the Vox. I feel like it's arguably Apfel's best hero, but it also takes it away from Mercedes. Mercedes, if you go and look up Mercedes in his ranked games, in any of his like solo queue or grouped queues, whatever, he has more than twice as many Vox games as any other hero.
Yeah,
It is absolutely absurd how much more Vox Mercedes plays than any other hero. So first picking it off the table, making sure that Mercedes doesn't get his hands on it was absolutely crucial for MOUSESPORTS to be able to pick up this victory.
So final note on the Petal, the scoreline at the end was 7-7-7. So like pretty much exactly average.
Lucky
Do we
seven.
feel like that was a good choice?
Yeah, I don't think with what they had, CB Blackfeather was much better into the late game, and Finn doesn't really snowball early game. He's more of a late game carry, so Petal just really didn't. Petal more of a mid game spike hero, and I thought they took advantage of that, but didn't really push it. So I thought they could have done something differently.
Could have been done differently. Could have.
There's other heroes that can fill that role and fill that role better.
All right, so no, still undecided on whether we really like the Petal there, but definitely they managed to make it work in the end. Although I don't think it could have been any closer than that one. The base race against the Kraken at the end as well. Everything was up in the air on that series. And I think we actually have a bit of a replay
Yeah, it's
here.
so much back and forth fights, but this is the fight that decided it. And then this is where MOUSESPORTS, they actually played more decisively. A lot of the fights they won, they were the ones aggressing and being decisive, and they're focusing down the heroes. They do a really good job protecting and cutting together. You can see the synergy between Apfel and I'm the Doom here. And they focus the Gwen down immediately here. Like, he lands a nice quibble, she misses the block on it, and then Petal beats the Blackfeather 1v1, which really worked out well because he had more broken mid stacks. I mean, that's a huge indicator in terms of who's going to win the fight, who has more of those broken mid stack. And they make the right decision here by rushing for the base there. And honestly, like I said, Merciless on Gwen isn't that strong. He missed a lot of ultimate. There's one fight where he ulted the other direction into like trying to hit Casper or something. So like it wasn't the best hero, I think, for him.
So now, having seen that series, do we have a clearer idea of where these two teams stand within kind of the power rankings? Do we have any final thoughts on the series?
We know that they're very even and are very likely going to be duking out. Based on what I've seen from the rest of Europe, probably will be right around the middle of the table. Third, fourth, just fighting for that spot, I think, is going to be most likely where they end up. But they are both very much on par with each other.
Well, if they can get these score points stacking up, they could be looking at a first place, at least at the end of week 1, as they are going to be moving on into our finals. But that wraps up the first series of the day, and it's now time to start to take a look at the second series of the day.